My mother was a wonderful Christian but never had anything. My father's health was going before I ever was born. I was next to the youngest of a family of 9, 2 that didn't live, but 7 of us had lived. And we didn't have anything. My mother didn't even have teeth from the time I knew her. And anyway, she didn't have things in the house. She didn't have things. She never had good things. And we were poor as church mice. My father's health was gone, but my father was up and down in his Christian experience. He first served the Lord, and we seemed happy, and he'd joke and enjoy life. And then when he was down, why, joking was horrible. People were... Arlen's daddy was building the parsonage, and my father went over and said, "What are you doing?" And he says, he was building window frames. And he said, I'm making picture frames. And oh, that was a horrible thing, him to joke like that, you know. But my father, when he was up in his experience, he'd joke too, enjoy life. The rest of the time he'd criticize everybody else for joking. I guess we were going to give account of all of our words, you know, and so on. It was bad. But some words have a purpose to them that are a little cute and funny, I think, sometimes. But anyway, my father was about 76 or 7 when he had chronic appendicitis and would never let him operate. He died of gangrene or peritonitis. My mother lived on for but she wasn't very old when she died, about 67, I think, several years later. And
and what were their names?
John Elmer and Bessie Elizabeth Heimbaugh it had been.
Do you know how old do you know what years they were born?
No, I don't. I'd have to figure.
But you know how old they were when they died?
Well, he was 76 or 7 and she was 67 or something like that.
In what year did he die?
1943. It was my first year pastoring at Calava, and a real blizzard, and they called me and I came down, and the car boiled, and we used to use alcohol in them, and we had to stop and take care of that situation. And got down there, and his eyes were set. I spoke to him, and he just went, he couldn't speak, but he grunted at me. He knew me, and it was sad.
Mm-hmm. And you're the oldest surviving of your siblings.
I'm next to the youngest of all of our family. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Vivian was 4.5 years younger than I was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And which of your siblings were you the closest with?
Arlen.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't know. I always enjoyed myself, but in a way, used to get plenty of thrashings.
Mm-hmm.
Missed some of mine. I deserved those, so. But I think my father, it seemed like he took it out on me more than any of the others. And my brother, he'd wait for the old razor strap to fall, and he'd yell and yell. And he didn't get much of it, but I took it. I was tough.
Mm-hmm. And did you ever go through a rebellious stage, do you feel, when you were younger?
I didn't rebel the way some kids do. I didn't let myself do that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't.
Even if you weren't a believer, you had the fear of God in you.
What's that?
Even though you weren't a believer yet, you had the fear of God in you.
I was taught and learned to really reverenced God when I was just a kid in church, and then I I learned a high respect for the ministers in the church. I thought ministers were something out of this world till I got close to being one. But anyway, God had his hand on me back there. A mail carrier asked me when I was about 9 to 11, he said, "What are you going to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I'm going to be a preacher." But we moved all over, and we moved where we didn't get to church for a few years, and I had some brothers that didn't know the Lord, and I was running around with them a little, starting to get a hunger for the world. Oh, I thank God that we moved up to Remus, 2 miles south of Remus, where her daddy came out and called on us, picked us up, took us to church. He'd pick up my mother and say, "Are you coming in tonight?" And I wouldn't lie to him. Some guys today will say, "Oh yeah, I'll be there Sunday." Doesn't mean a thing. They're lying through their teeth. I would have never lied to a minister. I had too much respect for them. But I'd say, "I can't promise you." And that was my no. And then I did that a few times, then I went, and I was saved. My mother came and to invite me to the altar to pray, and I started weeping like a baby before she ever got near me. And I got saved and meant it.
Mm. And then just to go back to your parents, tell me what you told me yesterday, so I have it on video, about where they were from. And
my father was from somewhere around Defiance, Ohio. My mother was from Wabash, Indiana.
Wabash, Indiana. And do you know any of their parents' names?
Oh, yeah. My father's name was Thompson Welch. I don't know much. They called him Uncle Tom, some of them. I don't know what his mother's name was. My mother's name was Ananias Heimbaugh, and what was her name? I should know. It's been so long.
Your grandmother.
They were wonderful people. I loved them. They were living near Wynn, Michigan, where they had been early pioneers there.
Mm-hmm. And do you remember what year they died?
No. I walked 13 miles to the funeral. We were living off over in here rather. And I walked, it was either his funeral or my aunt's funeral, one of them, that they both died back there. She had cancer. And anyway, I think it was Grandpa's funeral, though. I walked 13 miles to get there.
And were they Lutherans or what?
They were Wesleyan.
They were Wesleyan.
They went to Trinity Wesleyan Church, east of Blanchard.
And his name was Ananias Heimbaugh.
Ananias Heimbaugh.
And you said that his family was German.
Yeah, they were German.
You don't know where in Germany they were from?
No. I understand I have a great-grandparent or someone that was born on the boat coming across on one side or the other, but I don't know.
Huh. And what sort of line of work were they in? Farming?
What's that?
Were they farmers?
Yes.
Ananias was a farmer?
Yeah, they were farmers.
Mm-hmm. And then you don't remember your grandmothers on either side. You don't remember their names?
Oh, yeah. I don't... Oh, what? Ananias. Oh, can't think of her name.
You'll think of it.
But she was... they were good people, wonderful people.
Mm-hmm. And you knew you only knew the Heimbaughs. You didn't know the other ones.
I didn't know the Welches. My father had one brother, George Welch, that lived here in Edmore, and then he had an uncle. I had an Uncle Charlie that I saw just a few times. Mm-hmm. Another brother, and he had one brother that had disappeared, and they never saw him for years and years. I don't know if he didn't want anything to do with the family or not, but the last they knew of him, he was in Wisconsin. And
Now, tell me what was a Christmas like for you guys?
Christmas? We enjoyed everything. We made our own toys usually, and but we had fun. We enjoyed life. We enjoyed using them and so on. More than some people do with a fancy one. Oh, I would have given my right arm and leg for a bicycle when I was young, but we couldn't have bicycles. My my cousins had bicycles, and we went there, and they let us ride them, you know. And my brother was older; I was just young. And he said, "Now, when you get on there, the way the bike tips, you tip." Well, I got on the bike, and of course, it was wobbling like this at first, so I was going like this, and I ended up over the handles of the bike in the ditch. Didn't ruin the bike though. So.
And there's some sort of a tradition that's been carried down about oranges. Now, what's that about? Oranges on Christmas. No,
I don't know.
that wasn't you.
No.
I think my dad used to say that they were so poor that they could only have oranges in their stocking for Christmas or something like that.
Well, sometimes we didn't have much, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
We always had an orange in the toe of our Christmas socks. There were some friends of Mama's who made a pair of green Christmas socks for me. Well, they were too big at the time, so Mama always kept them, and Audrey and I used each one of those at Christmas time. But we always, when we take the pin out of it where they were hung, usually on the side of a chair or the side of the bed, and there was an orange in it and a candy cane sticking out of the top. And nuts.
Now, Arlen's daddy, when I was converted there and so on, and he loved me. He loved me so much. And he called me his son and their young minister and everything. I was almost afraid he was calling me to the ministry rather than the Lord, but I know that God had his hand on me back there when I told the mail carrier I was going to be a preacher. I know now God had his hand on me. And but anyway, I went everywhere with them. I picked cherries up at Traverse. They took me across the straits and took me up around to Sutton's Bay and Northport and all over with them. And I was in their home more than anywhere else. And Arlen and Audrey got to be real sisters to me. And but oh, her daddy was good to me. And mom too. Her mom too.
And when you were young, what was your favorite thing that someone would prepare for cooking?
I don't know. I don't know. My mother could really cook. She was a good cook, but she didn't have much, and to work with. But I like cornbread.
Cornbread. I'm
Johnny
stumping.
cake, we called it. Pardon me for. I wish I didn't have to get this thing off. I liked. Oh, she made some good things. I don't know. I can't think what my favorite one would have been. But
Now, Grandpa,